Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Orgasmic Relationships. I am your host, Sharika Matthews, life coach and relationship expert. As many of you may know, or you may not know, but I recently got married back in May on the gorgeous island of Maui, Hawaii. And while I personally think my wedding was the most beautiful thing ever, I have been very intentional about creating a marriage that is just as beautiful as my wedding. But as you know, when you enter into a marriage, it creates a life shift for you. Not just physically, because you're now living with another person, but also emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast episode with a married couple, and the husband made the comment that the woman that he married is not the same woman that he dated. And in the wife's words, she said that when she entered into marriage, she came with the belief system that said that she had to be a certain type of way in order to have a successful marriage. And so what that means is that along the way, she lost her zestiness, that fire that made her so attractive. She lost her joy and her happiness because her total focus in her marriage was to make her husband happy. And in other words, she just lost complete sense of who she truly was. So this doesn't just happen to women who are married for the first time or even for the second time. It happens to women who are high achievers in corporate America. It happens to women who are entrepreneurs and following their passion and dreams. It happens to women who's trying to walk a fine line between pursuing their purpose and being everything to everybody all the time. If you can relate to any of this, then this episode is for you. My intention today is to share with you how you can find the joy, the happiness, and the fulfillment in your life that you lost previously. And to help me do that, I have invited with me Elizabeth Correia. Elizabeth is a transformational speaker, author, and coach. She is the founder of Correia Enterprise, which is a women's platform for personal growth and lifestyle design. Elizabeth empowers women around the world to raise their level of awareness by helping them remember and recognize their inner beauty and true self worth. She has dedicated her life story and mission to helping women use their gifts and their voice to heal in order to step into their greatest potential by gaining the courage, the confidence, and the skills to share their life changing work with the world. With her charismatic and unapologetically stylish presence and relatable storytelling, she gives women permission to be themselves and gives them the tools they need to create the joy, the purpose, freedom, and fulfillment they truly desire. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for joining me here today.
Hey, ooh, you read that so smoothly.
Because I can relate to that. I like when we first met via phone, I love your energy. I love your passion. I love the word I used earlier is your zest for life and your zest for helping women and empowering women, and not just empower, but giving women the tools they need to become their best selves. I love that about you.
Yes, thank you.
So it's easy reading that.
Yeah, it was like, I need to record her.
But that's why I wanted you here on the podcast with me, because finding joy and maintaining that joy and maintaining that happiness throughout life is, I would dare say, is a struggle for a lot of us. And when your assistant reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, I immediately related to the work that you do, because as a newlywed, as a woman who's in a marriage and who works corporate America and running her own business, right?
Yes.
You can easily lose sight of your joy, of your happiness, and even what brings you fulfillment in the pursuits of success, in the pursuits of being a good wife, in the pursuits of being all the things to all the people in all the world.
Yes, yes. And that can create extreme burnout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And not just extreme burnout, it's If you don't monitor your self dialogue, you'll become your worst enemy. You'll always feel
Oh,
like a failure. You'll always feel as if you're not good enough. You're not
good
doing
enough.
enough. You're not accomplishing enough. You are,
Yeah.
yeah, you're all the things you don't want to be because of the self dialogue, because you're not taking the time to actually enjoy you, enjoy the life you're actually working so hard to build, and enjoy the relationships that you've invested in.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Totally.
right. So I want to start with your story, Elizabeth. How did you find your way into this lane, this realm of showing women how to find their joy and their fulfillment?
Gosh, oh my goodness. If I go way back, um, you know, and to how I got here, I literally, I really did move from pain
Mm-hmm.
to passion to purpose to profit. Okay, that's
Yeah.
how I got here.
Yeah.
So, it started off obviously when in terms of pain, that was my life for more than 25 years, from birth
Mm-hmm.
to, my mid 20s. Everything from, childhood abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, teen mom. I witnessed my boyfriend, his murder. He died in my arms. I was
Mm-hmm.
in my early 20s. It was just 25 years of constant pain. I lived in, so many foster homes. I was born and raised in the projects. I quickly became a product of that at 13, 14. I started, selling drugs and hanging out, doing things, caught up in criminal activities. It just went on and on and on. And I would say I discovered my passion and I was saved in the eyes of the church, because I did find and meet a woman who owned a salon in my neighborhood. And she became my spiritual mother. She became my safe place. And she brought me into her community and started mentoring me. And there I was able to share my story. I felt safe. And I do believe the two keys, the two things that were played a huge part on my healing, was community and the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
The fact that I was able to, just puke it all out and, talk about my childhood and my teens and what had happened to me as a child for many years, which was something I had not spoken about prior to that.
Yeah.
I buried it. When I went into foster care and I got caught up in the streets, I buried the childhood years. I didn't want anyone to know what had happened to me, what my father did, what my mother did. Um, I don't know if you know anything about growing up in the projects,
Oh
but
yes.
when you grow up in the projects, everybody knows everybody's business.
Right.
And
Right.
so, that I was dealing with the shame of that, and everybody in my neighborhood finding out and knowing. Um, so when I was in church and a part of these, youth programs and women's ministry programs and events, that was my birthing place. My pain was the birthing place of my passion and purpose, because as I started sharing, I realized that my story was impacting so many young people in the church.
Yeah.
So I was in my mid 20s, and these young men and women were 16, 17, 18. And so I discovered of this passion to inspire and empower these youth by telling them my story. This is my story. These are the consequences I had to leave. This is what I did. This is what happened. This is what it looked like. So, do you see that? Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Oh, that's weird. Something just went on the screen. Oh, look, girl. um, so, you know, um, so that was where I discovered my passion and my love for speaking and for sharing and for inspiring and teaching and coaching. Although I didn't know what I was going to do with it, all I knew was that it was a passion. And
Right.
then I was invited to, I started running my own little private little groups at church and at home. So I would host these like little fireside chats kind of thing, and invite my friends and a few of the young women from the church. And it started off with, 4 or 5 of us. And then it grew to like 15, 20, and then 30, 35. And I'm like, okay, I can't host all these people in the house.
Right.
So we took it to the church and we got like a room there. And then one day, my spiritual mother, I call her, she picked me up to go to church one Sunday morning, and she said, "Oh, I spoke to the pastor, and yeah, you're going to share your story today with the congregation." And I was like, "Huh, say what? Uh, in what setting? There's like
Oh,
3,000 people
everybody?
in this church."
You want
Yeah, right.
everybody? No.
Yeah, I had never done that. Just
Right.
shared it privately, and, you know,
Yeah.
fast
The rest
forward,
is history.
a long story short, yes, I did it. I stood up and I
Yeah.
spoke, and I had no idea that that day was the day that a seed was planted in my life. And what I see today, and the woman I am today, and everything that I've gone through and overcome up until this point, were just the fruits of that seed.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I didn't think I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to get paid to speak. Come on now. That's like Joyce Meyer, Tony Robbins,
Right,
Brene Brown. I'm
right.
like, right? So, I did that. I started presenting and sharing my story for free, and in youth prisons and youth organizations and events. And then one day this lovely lady asked me what my fee was. And I was like, fee? And I was like, oh, I'll get back to you. And I made a couple calls, and I went on YouTube. I remember going on YouTube, and I'll never forget, my very first fee was $250. And she said yes so quick.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. She said yes too fast. That I should have said 550, So that's how it started for me. That's how it went. It started with speaking for free, and then speaking for a little pay, and then I wrote and published my memoir.
Oh, okay.
And that was where everything really took off.
Yeah.
It was the publishing of my memoir.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which is so it's like a 400-page memoir.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole lot of stuff in here.
And that's kind of where I want to talk to you about is the story part of your life, the beginning, the pain part. Because, and I'll be one of the first people to admit that when I went through the painful parts of my life, I was always like, God, can you just teach me this stuff in a book? Like, why do I have to experience the pain in order to get to my purpose and my passion, or even just to learn the lessons in my life? And God is like, I did put in the book, but you didn't read it. So I was like, okay, God.
Yes. And another part to that is I don't know. I mean, from what I see out here, I speak a lot and I attend a lot of events. And the truth is, especially today, 2022, 2023, especially in these days, last 10 years at least, people don't just want to hear what you learned in a book.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's not relatable.
Absolutely.
They want to see, like, oh, you did this. Oh, this is who you are, and you went through that.
Yeah.
Well, then that, I can do it. Then that means I can do it.
Yeah.
Hey, if she did it, I can do it. She grew up in the projects. She had a loss. She survived some sort of illness, sickness. Okay, then I can do it. Like all these things that she overcame poverty, that means I can do it, right?
Yeah.
So people want to know that you're just a real person, and not just that you went to school and just read this in a book.
Right, exactly.
Right? So
exactly. Yeah. But let's talk to the women who are in the pain right now, who are going through that rough time, who's feeling stressed, who's feeling overwhelmed with everything going on in their lives, and they wish they could just snap a finger and just be done with it, get to the easy part, get to the better parts of their lives. How do they stay in it, or how do they persevere, I should say, to get to the other side, instead of always lamenting about, oh, I wish I didn't have to go through this?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. So there is a level of strength and courage and creativity that we have inside of us while we're going through the pain that most women don't tap into. There is a fight in you when you are going through something. There's a fight in there. There is something in there. There's a calling in there that if you get still and you listen and you hear, I know you'll hear what it is. You will hear the message. You will hear exactly what it is that you are supposed to do while going through that fight, while going through that pain, while stuck in that circumstance. And that's exactly what I did. I learned this at a very young age. Every time I took a hit, every time I took a fall, every time there was something extremely painful going on in my life, if I got still enough, or when I got still enough, I could hear the direction in what to do. It's like you're supposed to create something out of it. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You're supposed to create something out of it. When I was going through my separation, just weeks before, when I say my pain was the birthing place of my passion and purpose, I kid you not. And I'm going somewhere here. When I separated, when I left my former husband, who I love dearly, we are such great friends. That's my brother. But I'm telling a story of, 13 years ago, and I didn't love him. I wanted to, right then, right? But I left him and I went and lived in a shelter with my then 1.5-year-old and 17-year-old.
Mm.
And weeks before this happened, I had a vision of launching a women's empowerment business, event planning business. I just wanted to host events, conferences, seminars, workshops that would empower women, okay? And I went and I registered the business name. This is 2 weeks before. I registered the business name. I was sharing all these ideas with him. He's like, yeah, you got to do it. This is good, right? And I was just so excited about this. 2 weeks later, out of the blue, and I mean out of the blue, no, didn't see it coming, nothing. Something went down. And I left because I was like, I worked too hard on my healing. And I'm in my early 30s at this time. Mm-hmm. And I had been healing from, 20s. It was a lot. It was a journey, mm-hmm. right? So I'm like, I worked too hard on my peace, too hard on healing to stay here. I got to go. And I got my stuff, whatever I wanted, and my clothes, and I went to a shelter. Remember, I said I just registered my business, a women's empowerment business, and now I am in a women's shelter.
Yeah.
I had written 3/4 of this book at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I still had about 11 chapters left to write.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened smack dead, and I was just, it was the most, I would say, along with what happened in my childhood, painful thing I ever had to experience. So I'm in the shelter, and I said to my son, who was 17, I got to go back and get my deposit, because I put a $750 deposit for a venue to have a business launch, the first conference, right? And the lady would not give me back my $750. And I went home and I was crying to my son, and he's like, so have the event. And I'm like, you do know we're living in a woman's shelter. He's like, yeah, that's all a part of the story, Mom. And I'm like, oh, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I slept on it. I woke up and there was something that I woke up with, a strength that I woke up with, a vision that I woke up with that I did not have for those days that I was there prior to that morning. And I said, I'm doing this. I am doing this. I'm going to use my time here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I'm going to use my time here. I am going to connect with the women here. I'm going to make this event happen. I'm going to have about 80 to 100 women at this event. Then I kept writing in my book. I kept writing the chapters while I was at the women's shelter, and bringing my and he was a year and 2 months old, to daycare in the morning, going to my 9 to 5, doing double shift because I needed to make, now I'm awake. Now I got to make a whole lot of money because now I'm going to be on my own with my little baby. And I was already a single mom with my 17-year-old. and I'm working hard, and I'm going into the computer room, the computer lab at 5 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning to work on this event, to contact vendors and sell tickets and do social media. And this was 13, this was, sorry, 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So 15. So I'm busy and I'm working and I'm busy. I'm in pain, but I'm busy working on a project, working on a passion. I'm busy. I'm doing it while in pain.
Yeah.
Right? There's
Yeah.
something that you give birth to when you're working on your passion and your gift on your podcast, whatever it is, while in pain. Something happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a long story short, I had the event. I had 232 women at that event. It was the most incredible day of my life. And I finished writing the last 11 chapters of the book in the shelter. Okay. This photo shoot,
Mm-hmm.
this is, the bad girl. This is the bad girl then, right? This is the photo shoot. This photo shoot was taken while I lived in the women's shelter.
Mm.
I now am one of the main speakers that they bring into that shelter to run and facilitate workshops every year.
That's awesome.
So there's something that happens while you're in pain. It's something boiling inside of you. You got to do something with that pain, because Sharika, if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that pain can kill you.
Yeah.
It's not meant to, but if you let it,
Right.
it can.
Right.
It can destroy you. It can eat you alive. So you got to get up and find other women who are doing things, who are busy. Join groups, join a community, find local organizations that you can volunteer at. These are all the things that I did.
Yeah.
And it makes it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Life-changing.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And what I really heard out of this story is that every woman has a strength in her, even when she's in the pain. And it's that strength that starts to lay the foundation of what you need in order to propel yourself to the next level of life that you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And I know right now there's this, I don't want to call it a movement, but let's call it a trend of wanting to have the soft life, which is having a life of more ease, more joy, more happiness, more, how would I say it? More memories. And so,
I think it is a movement. And
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure where we were in that stage.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And I feel that, like, I like that. But when we talk to women about strength, especially as Black women, we've always been known to be strong. We've always been known to carry the weight of our family, to carry the weight of the world, to carry everybody else's burdens on our shoulders. And to hear us reiterate the topic of being strong, it almost seems as if it's an antithesis to the soft life. It almost seems as if it's an antithesis to finding the joy and happiness, because being strong and tapping into that strength that we have doesn't necessarily bring me joy. What would you say to a woman whose mind is in that place?
Listen, strong it's a word that, because, I don't even know if I like it, really, because it's like, I gotta be strong, and like, it sounds so,
like,
I don't know. I don't really like that word, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's that story in the Bible where you have to sacrifice the thing you most love in order to be strong. And for a group, especially women in this age, in our, I'm going to call it our age brackets, I'm in my 40s, we've sacrificed a lot. We've given up a lot. And you telling me I still got to continue to sacrifice? That doesn't bring me joy and happiness.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of, going through the process. Because if we don't go through the process, then how I see it is, I'm going to feel like how I felt in my early 20s when I didn't go through the process of healing through my childhood and my teens. I didn't go through that process because I was busy being strong. I'm strong and I'm a single independent mom and I'll get it on my own and I'll do it on my own and I don't need anybody and doesn't sit right with me.
Right.
So no, so when I learned, okay, Elizabeth, be patient with yourself.
Mm.
Start to dissect your story. Go through the process of healing. Go through the process of forgiveness, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I was so busy being strong, I didn't have time to do that. I was fighting, trying to stay alive and survive,
Mm.
right? So it wasn't until I went through the process. There's a process. Yes, you're going to be angry at first. Then you're going to be sad. Then you're going to be angry again. Then you're going to be sad again. So there's a process and you got to let yourself go through it. The important thing is don't lose yourself in it.
Yeah.
Don't lose yourself while going through it. While you're going through these emotions, make sure that you can kind of like, and I don't like the word balance too much either, but I'm going to use it, right? Make sure you can balance it out with good friends and, uplifting people in your life and
Yeah.
people that make you feel happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Make sure you balance it with self-care. I promise you, I think if working out was a rule for every person by the age of, I don't know, 12, 13, I think the world would be a completely different place,
Yeah.
right? Because so much happens while you're taking care of your body. Even if it's just a treadmill for 15 minutes, something happens in those 15 minutes. So it's like, go through the process, be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, while you're going through the process, make sure you're taking care of your mind, of your body, of your emotions. How to do that? Little things. Have the right people in your life. Walk away from anything and anyone toxic because you're already dealing with some pain. And you can't go through that pain and have toxic people in your life.
Right. Right.
That sometimes it's the things that we're entertaining that is making the pain worse.
Mm-hmm.
You're having these conversations, you're talking about it over and over and over, and to your friends who are just like, girl, yeah, girl, I know, girl, let's go get him. Yeah, you're right, girl. No, don't take us, go. No, girl. And it's like, and I know what that's like because I did it. I was, and it wasn't until I started cutting down all those branches and I was left standing alone, and I started planting new seeds. And then the branches that were coming out of the fruits and branches that were coming out of those seeds were helping me to heal.
Right.
Making me feel really good about myself. And it was a process and a journey. It didn't happen overnight. Gosh, no, it did. It was years of healing and rebuilding.
And I think that's the key that's missing in the conversation of creating the soft life, of creating more joy and happiness, is patience, understanding, and because there's the power of social media is extreme. And so we forget sometimes that when we see other people laying out on the beach sipping mojitos and, dressed to the nines, we forget that there was a whole 19,000 days before that that they didn't put on the brand
Yes.
that got them
And
to
many
where they are
times,
now.
and many times they're still going through something.
Right, but pictures are only literally a microsecond snapshot of time. Microsecond.
Yeah.
Because just like you
Yeah.
said, when you was writing your memoir, you were living in the shelter. And you took a photo shoot, and that picture on the front cover is a microsecond snapshot of time that captured, I would dare to say, the woman that you truly are, not the circumstances you were in. Would that be accurate?
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
When I tell
Exactly.
people what was going on in that photo where I was, they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." When I
Yeah.
do book signings and, you know, speaking engagements and I talk about it, it's just like, wow, that just makes the photo even just a whole other story, right? But
Yeah.
I don't say, I just like, just put it that way. Like,
Yeah.
just keep that in your mind that that's where that was taken. So, you know,
And I think that's
healing,
important. Go ahead.
yeah, Yeah. The thing about healing is that, you're on a constant journey of healing. I think stop putting, if I stop studying and reading and praying and working on myself, then my healing stops. That's a part of my healing, is the things that I do every day, my self-care routine, even just studying. I love to study, I love to read, I love to write. That's a part of my healing,
Yeah.
right? Some people like crochet, some people like quilting. So everyone's crafting, everyone's different. But if you stop working towards your healing, whether it's your body, becoming stronger, fitter, whatever, then you stop growing. And
Yeah.
if you stop growing, then you stop living. And you become like the man who physically lives to 75, but stopped living at 25,
Mm, mm.
right? He stopped working on himself. He started abusing himself, whether it was through, because we can do that. We can abuse ourselves
Yeah.
even more than how
Food
others
that
can
we
abuse
eat,
us.
the thoughts that we have, the habits that we create every day,
Yes.
sitting in front of
Yes.
the TV 28 hours in a 24-hour time
Yes.
period, that is
Yes.
self-inflicted
Abuse.
abuse.
Yes. It is. It
Absolutely.
is. It is. It
Absolutely.
is.
So we
It's,
have to
yeah.
change our daily habits in order to create the life that we desire. You know,
Yeah.
and going back to your story on the picture on the cover of your book reminds me that you have to hold in your mind's eye the vision of who you are and not be so attached to the circumstances that you're in. Because sometimes we get so attached to the circumstances that we're in that we don't allow ourselves to hold the vision, to
Right.
continue to invest in ourselves, to continue to do the good things that's going to create the good fruits that we desire in our lives. And we start becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy of continually being in pain, continually being in discomfort, continuing to be on the struggle bus in our relationships, on our jobs, and in our everyday lives. We are this self-fulfilling prophecy because we are so attached to where we are today, and we're not holding the vision in front of us of
Mm.
who we're desired to be for tomorrow. And when you were talking about bringing, you don't like to use the word balance to balance out the pain with the good things in life. I like to use the word integrate, because balance
Mm.
insinuates that you have to have an equal portion of everything in your life. That's literally balance. But when you integrate, I can be in pain. I could be living in a shelter. I could have a moment of dancing because it brings me joy. I could have a moment of writing my book because I know that's my purpose and my passion. I could have a moment of having a great conversation with a great friend, even just for 5 minutes, because in that moment, I'm connecting to another human being and that brings me joy. I can have an hour out of my week to go and volunteer at a women's shelter, at a school, or at whatever it may be, because I know that pouring into other people, i.e., planting a seed, will reap me a
Mm.
harvest, and it brings me joy and happiness. Integration is what I think we're also missing. So I think, like you said, we're missing the patience. We're missing the I have to go through the process, but we're
Mm.
also missing the integration part of it so that we can, in other words, have our cake and eat it too.
Yes. Yes. That is that's so powerful because I'm going to go back to, if there's a scripture, and I'm not, being religious here, but
Yeah.
I'm spiritual, not religious, but there's a scripture, many are called and few are chosen. And I believe that the ones that are chosen are the ones that pass the test. Well, what's the
Mhm.
test? The test is the challenge. The
Yeah.
test is the divorce. The test is the person, your parent who rejected you, abandoned you. The test, it was the sickness, the illness. The test was the loss. The test was the you got laid off. The test was you got fired. Whatever it is that you went through, That's the test.
Yeah.
And I can say this, that even if you repeat the same thing again, there were things that you learned from that last test, that last lesson, whatever it was, that you're not going to repeat so like
Yeah.
that again.
Right,
So
right.
even if you got to go through some things, okay, you had a couple bad relationships, maybe you're on your second divorce, I don't know, but the next time, it's going to be a little different.
Right.
Now, I think the whole goal is to not repeat the same choice again.
Right, right.
Right?
However,
But,
we are human. I
right.
repeated the
Yes,
thing
yes,
before. But
yes.
like, really, I did that again?
Yes, right. Especially relationships, right?
Girl.
But because there's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing, and that
Yes.
you can't avoid that. But there's lessons to learn, and I think if you get still with yourself and you really look like, okay, you really pay attention to, where did I go wrong? What choices did I make? How did I end up here?
Yeah.
Really get still with yourself, become self-aware.
Yeah.
Then I do believe that you are way smarter now, wiser. There's a lot of good that comes out of going through these things that we go through. But the problem is, most of us aren't listening. We're just focused on what he did and what she did and how he did it and how she did it. And we're just, and listen, that person, those people, they've moved on with their life.
Yeah.
And you're still stuck here in the pain. And all that was really supposed to come out of this was lessons, more wisdom, more knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And on
more
top
awareness.
of that, it's not that, I don't think it's just that we're not listening, because we're not just not listening. We're so busy that we can't listen. We busy ourselves with distraction. We busy ourselves with working. We busy ourselves with all these other things that we don't, like you said, stop to self-reflect, stop to become self-aware. And we miss the whole thing. Like, one of the things that I've said previously is, especially when it comes to relationships, I believe relationships, whether they were successful or unsuccessful, I believe that relationships serves two purposes. Number one, it allows the love of God to flow from you, through you, to another person. But also it allows the other person to reflect back to you the parts of you that you need to heal. And if you don't take the time to stop, to be still, to ask the question, what is this relationship trying to show me? What is this relationship? What is this person trying to reveal to me about me that I need to work on? Because even if you're in a current relationship, there are going to be things that come up, and there may be some things that's unique to that person, unique to him, that he needs to work on. But also, what is it about you that's telling you?
Yes.
That you need to work on. It doesn't have to be, I
something bad.
My childhood trauma. It just could be, I need to be a little bit more patient. I need to watch my words.
Yes.
I need to change my posture, how I show up. We try to make mountains out of molehills, and we can't make a mountain out of a molehill. Then we're like, I don't need to do anything. He was a narcissist. He was a liar. He was this. He was that. But again, he lied to you. Why did you believe him for so long?
And why didn't you pay attention to the red flags in the beginning? That is the biggest one. The biggest one. I work with women every day. I have a women's empowerment movement, pretty much, business, ministry, whatever you want to call it. And that's the biggest one. 98% of the women I speak to that have these, terrible experiences, or whether it's adultery or affairs or cheating, whatever it is, right? The red flags were there.
Yeah.
They were there.
Yeah.
But what's the lesson? Well, the lesson is, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. As women, we feel so sorry for people. That's a big one. Stop feeling sorry. I feel sorry. His mama walked out on him. He's never had a father in his life. Oh, his ex cheated on him, so he's a little messed up because of it. Gosh.
We
You need to take responsibility now because you were the clown here. You were the foolish one.
absolutely.
So
Girl,
stop pointing the finger at him.
girl, that is so true. Let me tell my business here for a second because um so I live in Chicago now, and before I moved here, I was living in Houston. I dated this guy, and at the time, like, of course, hindsight, that was a complete train wreck. I have never been in such a train wreck of a relationship before, and when I met him, I should have known. Like, I knew something was wrong, but like you said, I made up excuses. I felt sorry for him, and I wanted to help him. And, to be honest with you, he was a grown ass man. He should have been able to help himself. That's the part I ignored. I ignored the fact that his sister moved to another city just because she didn't want to live with him. I ignored the fact that he wanted to move in with me because none of his friends wanted to take him in. The fact that train.
You're gonna make me get up and I feel like I'm getting filled with the Holy Spirit right now. Like
Complete train wreck, okay? And the worst part of it is, even while I was in it, I saw the worst parts of me come out. I saw the worst parts.
Oh
like,
my God.
There
my
were
gosh,
parts
Sharika.
I wasn't being honest. I wasn't as I didn't like the person I was. I was misguided, acting out of character.
Yes, me too. I've been there.
Yeah. I chose to be in a relationship with someone that I should not have been in a relationship with. And I ignored the signs. I made up excuses. I did all the things that landed me to where I was. And so while I despised the things that he did, I also had to hold myself accountable, look myself in the mirror, accept my role, and accept the lessons I had to learn to become a better person and a better woman and a better partner for myself. And while, like I said, I wish I didn't have to go through that. I could have just read a book. But it was necessary. It was painful. It was necessary. God allowed me to go through it and then that ended up in a whole life change. Like, because of that whole situation and the circumstances I was in, I was basically forced to relocate my whole life up here to Chicago. Again, a major transition, ending a relationship. Actually got laid off from my job a year before, ended up losing the house, losing the car. I came up here to Chicago with a rental car, a suitcase, and my dog. I lived in a hotel for a year because my credit was so jacked up. That was so necessary, yet so painful, yet so transformative, yet I would not wish that on anybody.
Yes.
But it was necessary. I tried.
Yes, it was necessary. Yes.
I had to get to the place of stop beating myself up for the poor decisions I made in that relationship to saying, okay, everything is still working for my good because I went through it. I survived. I didn't just survive it. I was able to surpass it, elevate my life, elevate my mindset, elevate my relationships with myself and with God and with other people to be the woman that I am today. I had to learn the power of shame. I had to overcome the power of shame in order to be who I am today and to do what I am doing today.
Oh my gosh. Everything you shared literally gave me goosebumps. Everything, because I'm going to say one thing to that. If your relationship, if the person that you are engaging with, you are involved, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship, marriage, whatever, right? It does not make you a better person. If this person is bringing out the worst in you, bringing out maybe an old you, shifting your character, changing who you are, you're becoming, you're becoming just like that person. Catch yourself and run for the hills.
Yeah.
because I know women who it literally, they don't even, they get so caught up and consumed in this person, they become like that person,
Yes.
and it gets to a point where it's almost a point of no return. They are literally like, it's like they're not even that person who that person was anymore. And it's something that will swallow you up. And I know what that's like. I've been in a situation like that once. That was the worst relationship, worst situation, worst person I ever knew, I ever met. It was like and I'm not talking about my teen boyfriend, because I was 14 when I met him. I was a kid.
We didn't
foolish,
know no
right?
better.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about him.
21 though.
We were both broken teenagers, right? But it's the worst thing to be involved with someone who is, not a good person, ugly character, ugly, like, and you're just in it because you're either bored, in it for the wrong reasons, in it because, okay, maybe I can make him be a nice person or a better person, maybe, all these things that whatever reasons you're in the situation. Maybe this person takes care of you, pays your rent, pays your bills, I don't know. But if you are around a person who is toxic, not a good person, and you just keep going around this person, you will become like that person.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Catch yourself and run for the hills.
Yeah.
Run for the hills and never look back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Half the reason a lot of us women are not happy, we don't have the joy that we want in our lives, is because we're partnered with the wrong person.
Oh,
you are
gosh.
in bed with the wrong person. You're married to the wrong person. You're dating the wrong person.
Yes, and that's a spiritual, they say, again, not being religious, spiritual soul tie. Like, that is something, like, who you're sleeping with, who you're laying with, who you are being intimate with, whatever. Even that is something spiritual is happening there. So that person's character becomes your character. That person's toxic ways, the way they speak, the way they act, you will slowly find yourself, you'll be like, damn, that's so out of character for me. Why did I just say that? Why did I just do that? You start thinking crazy. You are becoming, it's a spiritual whatever.
What is it? Entanglement. Yep.
Entanglement. Yes. Entanglement. Yes. Right. That's what's happening.
Let me tell you what I heard you say, because you said toxic ways in what you just said. What I heard in the moment was toxic waste. And I actually work in a chemical plant full time. And so when I think of toxic waste, I see toxic chemicals overflowing the original container and contaminated everything and everybody around it. That's exactly what happens when you're partnered with the wrong person. Toxic waste. You're getting the worst. You're getting the overflow.
Yeah.
Bad into your life, into your energy, into your spirit. And you wonder why you're not happy. You wonder why you can't get that promotion. You wonder why your kids are acting out. You wonder why.
Oh my goodness.
Ma'am.
That is so deep. That is a whole other podcast interview. I am serious. It's so deep. It starts affecting you. You wonder why you can't get out of bed. You wonder why you're feeling lazy. You wonder why all of a sudden you're feeling sad and depressed.
Exactly.
Or anxiety. All of a sudden you got anxiety. All of a sudden you're not clear. You don't know what you want. You don't know what to do. You want to, all of a sudden you're not happy at work. All of a sudden you don't like your best friend. All of a sudden you don't like your mama. All these, and you're like, man, it is deadly.
Right.
It's deadly. Right. It's deadly.
Right.
It's so dangerous.
We have to be very intentional, very selective about the people we date, about the people we connect with on a friendship level, on a work relationship level. We have to be very intentional about that, because there are consequences to that. Because if you connect to the wrong person, they could literally suck the life out of you. They'll keep you attached to a bad situation, to a bad job, to a bad circumstance. Even with, and I'm probably going to offend people with what I'm about to say, and I'm okay with that.
Mm,
But
mm,
even when it comes to family members, when you have a when you don't have the right connection to your family members, you'll be guilt tripping into taking care of everybody. You'll be guilt tripped into being there for everybody at your own expense. You're in the hospital, but yet your family's calling you, asking you to pay their bills. You,
mm.
your house
Oh,
your house is out of order, but you have to constantly run to your mama's house, to your sister's house, to your brother's house to help them with their children, their relationship, and you don't have time for yours. Without healthy relationships, without healthy connections, without healthy boundaries, without healthy
mhm,
communication and understanding, even those family relationships could be the very thing that's blocking you from achieving joy, from achieving happiness, from actually experiencing fulfillment in your life. And we have to
mm.
have, and I love the words you said way earlier in the podcast, you have to have the confidence and the courage to know who you are, to know whose you are, to know
Mm.
what you desire, and to say no or say not right now to everything that's contrary to your identity. And keep it in
Yes.
mind, your identity is not your circumstance. Your identity is not your situation. So if you want to have the life you desire, if you want to have the type of fulfilling, passionate, exciting relationship you want, you first have to start with self. Know who you are. Who are you without
Mm.
all the responsibilities? Who are you without the title of mother, father, sister, brother, co-worker? Who are you? That's a starting point, because I talk to women a
Yeah.
lot too, and we don't know how to describe who I am without those
Mm.
titles. When I tell people who I am
Yes.
multi-passionate. I am fierce. I am unapologetic. I love dance. I love music. I am a passionate woman. I love
Yeah.
people, but I take no
Yeah.
shit. When
Yes.
I
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am, I can describe that without my titles.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually you're supposed to,
Yeah,
because the titles have nothing to do with who you are. So
exactly.
when
But we
I'm
forget
at
that.
an event, and we all have a chance. Oh, introduce yourself, stand up and introduce yourself. I'm about the only person that stands up and doesn't mention I do not mention my titles. I say, I'm a multi-passionate woman. I am creative. I am kind. I am bold. I am
Yeah,
feisty. So I start, and then I'm like, and I am a speaker. So those things I say
yeah,
last. And
yeah.
then everybody kind of like, okay, you know? And then there's someone always asks a question about that. Like, I noticed you. I'm like, yeah, because those titles are, the host said, take a moment to introduce yourself. Who are you?
Right,
That's not who we are.
right. That's
It's
what
a
I do.
title. It's our
Right,
job. Right.
right,
Right. Yeah.
right. I love that. And I think for our listeners, I think that would be a great starting exercise. Who are you
Mm.
without the
Yes.
title? And once you understand who you are, you're able to write that down and say it with some confidence in you. Now
Yes.
tell us what makes this person happy. What would bring
Uh,
that person you just identified joy? What will bring that person you just identified fulfillment?
Yes, 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 love it. And even do it in the video. I always have my clients, my coaching clients, I coach new and aspiring speakers,
Yeah,
female speakers, and I always have them do a 1 minute video, record themselves, just introducing themselves with and mentioning the titles at the end.
yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yes.
That's a great
Yes.
exercise.
Yes.
So I know we're getting to the end of our podcast episode here, but what I want to do, Elizabeth, I want you to tell our audience 3 to 5 keys that they can take
Mhm.
away with them right now to add more joy and happiness and fulfillment to their lives. Outside of the plethora of stuff we talked about, right? Because we talked about a lot
Yes.
today, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, there were so many people who are blessed with this conversation. But if we had to summarize it, what would you say?
Number one, first, and because when you master this, is physical mastery. Start taking care of your body. Because even if you're working on your mind and you can read and you read a book a day and you know scriptures by heart and you listen, if you do not work out and you don't master the physical, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. So number one, start spending 15 to 20 minutes working out a day. 15. Do a HIIT class. You can and for free. You don't have to invest money. You don't got to go to a gym. You can I work out every day from right here, my home.
Yeah.
So go on YouTube, find someone you want to subscribe to, somebody who does 15, 20-minute workouts a day. They're free. You follow what they do. 15. Gradually, you can, remember, I said, and be patient. Enjoy the process. Maybe in 2 weeks, you move up to 20 minutes a day. But that is number one. Number two, work on forgiving. Be intentional about it. If you struggle with unforgiveness, I know it's eating you alive because it did for me. Start reading on the power of forgiveness. Buy books. Subscribe to YouTube channels. Listen to people who speak on forgiveness a lot. Joyce Meyer is one of them, right? Yolanda Van Zandt, she speaks quite a bit on the power of forgiveness. You have to be intentional about it. It's not going to happen just like that.
Yeah.
You got to put in the work. Forgiving is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. However, it's the most empowering thing you will ever do in your life, ever. So number two, forgiveness. Number three, find a passion. Find a passion. If it's skipping, let it be skipping. If it's dancing, let it be dancing. If it's crochet, crafting, making jewelry, coloring, drawing, painting, doing makeup, find a passion. I didn't say a paid passion. Find a passion. If it turns into a purpose, okay, great. If you can turn it into a profitable business, great. But don't go in it or start it because you're thinking of money or anything, attached to monetary. No, find a passion and spend time on that passion a few minutes a day. A few minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. I don't have time. Yes, you do. Because if you are living a life without passion, you're not truly living. Because you're just working then. Everything's work. You're working to take care of the kids. You're working to take care of home. You're working to be a wife. Working at your 9 to 5. Everything is working, right? Even if your work is attached to your passion, great. That's amazing. Find a passion. That's number three. Number four, a community. Whether it's a Facebook group or a local community, a local organization, something within your area, something that you can be a part of. Somewhere where you're going to find like-minded women, like-minded men, something, you want to feel a part of something. It brings a great sense of purpose into your life. So number four would definitely be community. I'm going to share just those four.
Okay.
If you can start right there and do a little of that a day, oh my gosh, you're good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And this speaks so much to me because, again, life transition into being a newlywed. And sometimes you lose the focus of what it takes to really bring the joy and the happiness into your life. So I so appreciate you, Elizabeth. And I've enjoyed every single thing that you shared with us today. So thank you so much for your time, for your passion, for your purpose, and for sharing with us your energy. But before we go,
thank you.
I need you to tell us where we could buy your books, where we could enroll in some of your programs. Like, how are we going to continue with you? Because I have a feeling that what you shared today is just a tip of the iceberg. You have so much more to give to the world. And I know everybody who's listening is going to want to follow you. So tell us how to stay in contact with you.
Yeah. So most platforms, my Instagram and Facebook got hacked. Last month, I think I did. Yes, it did. I mentioned that. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned it actually. Maybe it had not happened yet. So I have put up a new account that I got to start rebuilding now. It looks like I'm not going to get those accounts back. That's okay. It's about moving forward, right? Yes. So my Instagram is MS Elizabeth Correia. My website is Elizabeth Correia. TikTok, Elizabeth Correia, LinkedIn, Elizabeth Correia. On my website, I do have a couple of courses. I have a new personal transformation master course that I'm launching on Black Friday. I also have a mini forgiveness course that I launched last month. That's on, if you go to my Instagram bio, there's a link there. It's a social tap link that has all the links. So my book can be purchased on my website or on that link in my Instagram bio. The ebook, the Kindle version, can be purchased on Amazon. The course is on my website. Anything that I'm doing and selling, it's in the link in my bio. Again, it's MS, so there's no I. MS Elizabeth Correia. And yeah, and then of course, if anyone wants to, chat or share something, a testimonial or something, you got a vision, you want to do something, you can always email me at coaching@elizabethcorreia.com.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I did not know that your accounts have been hacked, but that's okay because I know you're strong, you're resilient, and the right people are going to be attracted to you and build up your new tribe. So I see it happen.
Yes! I receive, because that's what's happening, girl.
Exactly,
I receive
exactly.
it. Yes,
We need a
yes.
palate cleanse. We need to just sever the old to build the new. And that's exactly what's
Sharika,
happening.
oh, it was the most painful thing that I went through. I was physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually sick for days. I
Mm,
worked so hard on building my brand on Instagram. I had thousands of followers, and they were, I was so attached to that. However, there was a huge lesson learned, because when I got hacked, I literally heard God say, I spiritually hacked you. It's time for new territories, time for new expansion. And it was at the beginning of my launch. My launch,
mm,
I have, like, I do, when I launch something, I launch for about a month.
yeah.
It was at the beginning. So when I say painful,
Mm,
but now it's like, that's okay, because
yeah.
what God is doing right now, oh, I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what becomes of all of this. I know it's going to be powerful and beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us here today. And as always, continue to be bold, brilliant, and completely unstoppable in the pursuit of what you desire in your life and in your relationships. I'll talk to you next time.